Well, welcome to, I guess, my first YouTube video on how to carve foam so that you can use it for bases for your Mego action figures. Here I have some Planet of the Apes ones that I really wanted to come up with something to display them on. These are materials that you're going to need. The most important there is going to be that wire cutter. And I got it off of eBay. You're going to need a glue gun. There's the foam core. Like I said, you can get that at Lowe's. And some glue. Now I have some spray adhesive in the back that I'm not really using to adhere anything. I'm just going to use it for a special effect that I'll show you in a bit. And of course some Krylon paint. One thing that you don't see there is some stain that I'm going to be using, but I'll talk about that later. Here's the foam core. And the wire cutter really does a great job at sculpting the foam. I would lean it in at about a 45-degree angle to knock off those corners and the edges, because you want your base to look a little bit more natural, like rock. And that's what I'm going for anyway. I'm going for like a rock appeal. And so you use the wire cutter to kind of give you that bevel edge that you're gonna need. And as you get to the end of it, you get to the corner, you're gonna kind of round it off a bit. You'll see that I kind of like take the wire cutters and bring it in at sort of like a curved angle. That way I can take care of the edge a little bit. Now, you'll see some straight spots that you may want to make a little bit more rugged. And again, just use the knife for that. Let the knife do all the work. The wire knife or the wire cutter is super simple to use with this foam. You'll see it once you get into it. It's just, you have to be careful. You could cut it too easily. And this is a lot different than, knives and things like that I used to work with in the past. Once I got this wire cutter, yeah, it was great. It uses an electrical current to create heat that just melts that foam like butter. And you can see I'm taking it and I'm knocking off some edges to make it a little rougher so that it looks like stone. And that's the effect I'm going for. Here's the finished piece. Well, with all the edges kind of beveled, and you can see I took out the corners as well. Some areas look a little rougher than others, but it's just gonna be playing it, kind of like by ear. In this particular case, you want it just to be a good base for your figures. Now, I found this rock outside, just like on the rock wall or whatever, and I'm using it to kind of like roughen up the piece and give it a little bit of texture. Now, I would try to keep it as random as possible and use different parts of the rock so that you have, no two areas that look the same. Now, you're gonna get some dirt on it and stuff, and you can clean that up later. Just make sure that you randomize it as best as possible. Now, you may want to put some like rocks on your piece, that are made out of that styrofoam material. And so what I'm doing here is I'm just taking the edging material that I had left over, and I'm creating like a little rock for the piece. And I thought maybe 3 rocks would be nice, so I went ahead and I created 3 rocks using that wire cutter. And again, just kind of like play it by ear, have fun with it. If you want to use a bigger piece of foam, don't use the scraps. Use part of the foam that you have left over. The piece that I bought was like pretty big, and it was like $5. So you don't really have to scrimp. I just thought, well, I have these pieces left over, and I'm the kind of person that just likes to use everything. So that's what I'm doing here, is just creating these little rocks using my wire cutter. And like I said, it's really simple. This wire knife is great for styrofoam. Just make sure that you do it in a well-ventilated area. I have a window open and I have a fan going on in my kitchen. I don't know if I do it in my kitchen again. I just did it so that I could have a place to videotape. So make sure you do it outside. Now, here's the roughened piece, and I'm going to try to, you can see I fit those rocks there. Here it is where I painted it, and I just used some of that Krylon paint that I showed you earlier. You can use whatever color you want. I used wheat, but I'm highlighting that effect that you get with the spray adhesive. See how it kind of melts it? There are some areas that I need to take care of later. You can see a little gap underneath that rock. But overall, I'm pretty pleased with it. It doesn't look too bad. Now, the next part I'm going to do is stain. I use this Velspar stain that I got at Lowe's also. It's acrylic, right? And you want to make sure that it's water-based, because I mix it kind of like 50-50 with water, because I want it to kind of like run into the little I guess, textures and little grooves, nooks and crannies that I've created. And when you reduce it with a little bit of water, it doesn't stain it as much either. So it just gives it a nice little wash, and that's what you're going for. And just kind of brush it on very liberally. If you want to, let it dry and do it again. Once it's finished, you can see that gap again. Once it's finished, you're going to start adding the greenery. Right, and I got some of this like moss junk, and I'm going to use that to cover up that little gap that I have there. It does it quite nicely. And then I have some fern pieces that I'm going to cut and use. I also found a stick outside, like a little branch, and I put some of the red moss underneath it to kind of build a contrast. And what I want to do now is I want to put some leaves on that little branch. So I cut off a little section of some of the greenery because I'm going to reduce those into leaves and paste them directly onto the stick. Here I'm using the X-Acto knife to create a little hole so I can put some more of the greenery that I have. And I'm just cutting off little pieces, and putting it in there and gluing it down with a hot glue gun. And those little pieces are going to give you a little, I guess, dimension to the piece. And make sure you sort of balance it. But, it's just kind of like eyeballing it. Just do something that's like fun and exciting for you. This is your piece. You can have it as detailed or as minimalistic as you want. I also added some runners. I got this like crepe stuff. It's like called super moss, and I ran those off as like little runners. And you can see it's kind of like added a little another dimension to the piece. And here they are, finally put together with my figures on top. I have two of them. I was thinking about doing an ape city. And then using these as like kind of background pieces. But thanks for watching. Here's the piece again. I will try to post some more things as I go along, but thank you so much. You guys have a great day and see you soon.